Joining me now is Ohio Congressman Warren Davidson. He's a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Financial Services Committees. He's also a member of the task force to combat Mexican drug cartels. Congressman, good morning. There's a lot of news to get to this morning with you, but first I just want to start with your initial reaction to what we're seeing over in the Middle East. Israel and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are bracing for a retaliatory strike from Iran. The rhetoric from Iran is they will act, but they don't want to start a broader war. What is your assessment?
Good morning, Cheryl. Yeah, thanks for talking about this. Look, Benjamin Netanyahu came and spoke to Congress, a joint session of the House and Senate. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris skipped that, and frankly, the leadership there from the administration is disappointing in this void. What you saw, though, is Benjamin Netanyahu on the floor of the House making a bold defense of Israeli sovereignty and, frankly, the justness of going after Hamas. So who did they take out? A leader of the Hamas terrorist organization who's got people being fighting a war in Gaza while he's hiding out in Tehran taking directions from the Iranian government. It clearly shows the link between Iran and the massacre of Israeli citizens. And the other leader they took out was a Hezbollah military leader, and Hezbollah is another Iranian proxy, and they took this person out in Lebanon. So they're finding the leaders, and how much more effective can you be at minimizing civilian casualties than going right to the head of the snake? So I think Israel's done the right things here. And of course, Iran hasn't been attacked at all. So why would Iran come after Israel? It shows that really this is a proxy war of Iran versus Israel. And I think Israel's right to say we don't want it to escalate. We're doing things to minimize it. We'll see what Iran does.
So is the worry more Hezbollah? Do you think that Iran right now, not that Iran isn't backing Hezbollah, they are, but do you think that that's where we should be focusing our attention more this morning?
Well, that's the challenge for Israel because, you know, Gaza's in the south, Hezbollah's in the north. Look, they're already taking rocket fire from Hezbollah. The question is, will there be a stronger border incursion? Okay. The last time Iran tried to respond to Israel, they sent like 350 drones in and, you know, tried to flood the zone on the Iron Dome air defense system that Israel has. So, you know, Iran has some capabilities. Unfortunately, they've bolstered those capabilities with all the cash the Biden administration helped them obtain by lifting the Trump-era maximum pressure campaign. And they've partnered, frankly, with Russia to get a lot of these weapons and China. But if you go back, one of the horrible decisions that they made was when President Obama was president, they seized a very top secret drone. We had some intense capabilities there, and Iran has used that to really become one of the world's leading drone suppliers. So they're manufacturing these drones at scale. And, you know, it's hard to say what you could do, but the delivery systems we're seeing on drones coming out of Iran and, frankly, on the battlefield in Ukraine is pretty startling.
Yeah, that's true. Liz Peek's on set with me. She's got a question for you, Congressman.
Good morning, Congressman. What kind of response would you like to see or warning from the White House? What should President Biden be saying at this point? We know what he's telling Netanyahu, which is don't escalate, don't escalate. What about his message for Iran?
Yeah, I think, look, his message should be clear is the United States stands with Israel. They've muddied the message by trying to do everything to keep Netanyahu from waging this war against Hamas. And he should be clear is, look, this should be a targeted war against Hamas. It shouldn't be against the people of Gaza. It has nothing to do with the people of Hezbollah. So Hezbollah is essentially backing the Hamas leadership when they're attacking Israel. Israel didn't attack any of the region controlled by Hezbollah. So Iran is clearly the agitator here. And we see what you're doing. And frankly, what Biden administration should say is, look, settle down, and we're just going to go to Trump's maximum pressure system against you.
All right. So, you know, let's talk about what we saw last week. Russia sped up the prisoner swap with the U.S. after it became clear that former President Trump could come back to the White House. That's being reported in the Journal. A way to listen to Vice President Kamala Harris talking about that prisoner swap. Watch this.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances.
What do you think she was trying to say there?
Well, first off, it shows that they shouldn't let her go unscripted anywhere. And frankly, it makes our country look weak when you have her speaking anywhere. So hopefully we basically, they might have anointed her without an election, but when there is an election, hopefully the American people see through that and take her out. So that was disappointing. But look, it was a great win to get our hostages freed. We should celebrate that. It wasn't a piece of cake to pull off, but you do see, as the Journal pointed out, countries around the world responding to the possibility, hopefully the probability, that Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. Even in NATO countries, they're trying to fortify their Ukraine policy against essentially Trump-proof it. And Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden are trying to help them do that. So there is preparation underway around the world for Donald Trump taking office again. And I think the hostage negotiations are part of that.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we've seen that with China, which we're going to talk about in the next part of the show. Real quick for you, Ron. The Biden-Harris administration has expanded areas where migrants can apply for appointments on the CBP One app. That includes 2 Southeast Mexico states. A new poll from the Chicago Council on Global Affairs finds that half of Americans now say the large number of migrants, illegal immigrants, entering the country is a critical threat. How do you respond to that?
People have seen it for a long time, and look, they're trying to walk away from everything Kamala Harris has done in her life to try to create this new product, Kamala Harris 2.0 or 4.0 or whatever it is. But we know where she's been. She's been radical left on this. She said crossing the border shouldn't even be a criminal matter. She wanted to give free health care to illegals. So, you know, talk about baiting people to come into the country. They're doing that. The administration designed an app to facilitate illegal immigration, and then they're pretending that's not illegal. So they're juicing every kind of number they can. They're distorting everything. And the disappointing thing, with the exception of places like Fox and a few other outlets, the media is just repeating the lies. And maybe the most disappointing thing is a lot of our countrymen are sitting there believing them, going, oh, yeah, the TV told me to believe this. And you know, hopefully that's just AstroTurf and everyone sees through it.
Mm-hmm. Well, both campaigns spending millions of dollars in advertisements. We'll see if those break through. Congressman Warren Davidson, it's great to have you. Thank you.